Welcome back to all of our attendees for episode number 3 in the YASH Technologies Digital Trailblazers virtual webinar series. Cannot believe that we're already to episode number 3, but it just shows that the adage that time flies when you're having fun really does stand true. Today's topic falls right in line with all of the other great topics that we've had up until this point, and it is specifically relevant in the times that we're facing. It's around the notion of the modern workplace. And in a few moments, Praveen's going to define what the modern workplace within YASH Technologies speak and the scope of what we do, what that really means. But what's in it for you as an audience member is to continue this journey that we've set forth in the first 2 episodes and give you valuable insights that you can use wherever your organization, wherever your company is in its journey to getting back up on its feet after the business disruptions that the pandemic has brought upon all of us. And specifically, we get asked a question quite often, what's YASH been doing during the downturn here with the pandemic? What have you been doing to make valuable use of your time? And it's a pertinent question, and specifically why it's important in this webinar series to put context into how we have governed ourselves and continued to find those opportunities and those areas to fill out the value that we can have to our clients. Is we made a decision early on when the disruptions began that we weren't going to sit on the sidelines. We simply weren't going to just wait until business got back to normal, because who knows if that was ever going to happen or what normal was going to look like. What we found very, very beneficial to us was becoming excellent listeners and reaching out to all of our clients and asking them what's going on within their business and learning from them what the disruption was doing to them, what's important to them now that maybe wasn't important just a few weeks or months before that. And we've brought all of that intelligence that's been shared with us, and we found this platform as a wonderful way to bring everything that we've gained and push it out to the marketplace in a way to keep that thought leadership going. And what Praveen has done an exceptionally good job of is then expanding it and bringing in a panel of great thought leaders across our client network and the people that we really value, not only the relationship, but what they have shared with us to continue to drive this conversation and give those real world perspectives on what they've been doing. And how we brought it together with YASH then is it's helped us communicate with our 6,000 team members. And that adage that I shared in episode number 2, we're still a privately held company at YASH. It's still run by our founder and our current CEO, Millage Behetti. And Millage has instilled in all of us that adage of being large enough to take care of all of our clients. And that's where that 6,000 team member organization across the entire globe really comes into play. But empowering those team members to still have that adage where we're small enough to care no matter what the need is. We still pick up the phone when we're called. We still return emails when they're sent to us. How can we be responsive in the market? And these webinars are a great way to do that. So as we move into introducing the panelists and introduce Praveen and have him give that definition of what modern workplace is from YASH Technologies perspective, think about this as a thought leadership incubator where you can take all of these things that we're sharing with you today, take them back to your teams and see how you can grow them within your enterprise and where they can take you where maybe you hadn't thought of this before, or this was an idea that it was in a thought process stage, but now you hear other people are doing it. Gives you a great way for some validity back in your department. So with that being said, I'd like to migrate right into our panelists, allow them to introduce themselves. Those of you that have been with us since the first episode, you'll recognize some of these faces. Some of them are brand new to our webinar series. So without anything else being said, I'm going to go right in and allow Alan. Alan has been with us in a previous episode of the Digital Trailblazer series, and I'll allow Alan, introduce yourself, please, sir.
Sure. Hi. Thanks, John. My name is Alan Millage, and I work with Kent Corporation. Manage the IT application development and the administration group there. And we certainly have invoked in a complete Microsoft roadmap, rolling out just a lot of the different tools and technologies. So a lot of these TrailBlazer sessions have been awesome.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. And appreciate you coming back for another second go around for
thanks.
you. Appreciate that. We've got one of our new panelists coming up next. Steve, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Steve Johnson. I'm the VP of Information Technology for Stonebridge Companies. We own and or operate about 63 hotels around the country. We're definitely engaged in the Microsoft roadmap, starting with 365 and just kind of working our way through what our infrastructure is going to look like over the next couple of years.
And Steve, I can only imagine with the industry that you're involved in, you're going to be able to bring a lot of real world thought leadership because of how this business disruption has impacted not only your specific company, but your industry as a whole. So thank you very much for taking time out today to share some of those insights with us.
No problem.
Doug is another returnee to the Digital Trailblazer series. Doug, please reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, Doug Campbell from Stryker Corporation. We manufacture medical devices, and we're located in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And in my role, I lead transformation across our global quality and operations organization, and really think about how we can leverage these technologies to make us more effective across our global network.
Doug, again, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Digital Trailblazers. Appreciate it. Look forward to your insights shortly. Chris, another one of our newbies to the series. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, I'm Chris Robertson. I'm the director of the Global Center of Excellence for SAF Holland. We're a commercial automotive supplier. I have the application space globally for the company, and we are just now starting on our path for migration to Office 365.
Great. You might be able to steal some good ideas from your fellow panelists today, Chris. If we see you feverishly writing things down, we know we've hit on a good topic for you, at least at that point in time.
Absolutely.
And last, certainly not least, we'd like to welcome back Rachel. Rachel has been involved in all 3 webinars up to this date. I was teasing Praveen in our lead up to going live today. We definitely owe Rachel some kind of a participation prize for putting up with he and I, not only in the 3 live webinars, but all of the prep sessions leading up to this. She has went through obviously the worst of everybody, having to put up with Praveen and I. So Rachel, please, for the 3rd time, introduce yourself to the group.
Yeah, actually, it's been great. I've enjoyed this. So Rachel Young, Brewer Science. I'm the PMO director. Brewer is a global company that develops materials for the semiconductor industry, and our headquarters is in Rolla, Missouri, which is where I'm located. So I facilitate projects as they pertain to the corporate resources portfolio. Previously, I led the IT enterprise applications team, which included ERP and then custom development. We implemented Teams last year and are utilizing SharePoint Online along with some of the project management apps. So this has been very helpful.
Good. And Rachel, again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I say this every episode, but I mean it very much. I'm really honored to get to introduce Praveen Kumar to the group and kick off the formal introduction of Praveen. Praveen does just a fantastic job of running the YASH Technologies Microsoft practice. He doesn't give himself the credit that he's due, but this whole webinar series, the Digital Trailblazer series, is Praveen's brainchild, and he's done just a fantastic job of pulling all the levers in the background, putting the panelists together, coming up with the different topics that are relevant to the business scenarios that we find ourselves in today, and keeping us all upbeat and keeping us all marching to the same beat. So with that being said, Praveen, please introduce yourself to the audience, but then specifically give that YASH definition of what modern workplace really means, and put that YASH branding on what the entire organization is doing to make modern workplace a reality for our clients and the people that are out there in our audience today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, John. So my name is Praveen Kumar. I'm an associate vice president and practice head for Microsoft services at YASH Technologies. So I've been working at with YASH for 11 years now. I'm based out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. So again, John was giving a lot of credit to me, but I don't deserve any credit at all for that. All the credit goes back to all the wonderful panelist members here and all the hard work that has been done and delivered by various teams. Absolutely, John and the marketing team and my team, the service line team, and also the PTG team. So all the credit goes to them. Without their help, this webinar would not have been possible. So before we get into any discussions today, what I thought is, I would give my point of view or my perspective on what we at YASH Technology believe is a modern workplace. So, I mean, each one of us, you go Google into, you Google for a word called modern workplace, and then there are like hundreds and tens and thousands of definitions of, what a modern workplace. But I think we consolidated all of that, and then, we were looking at our own definition of what a modern workplace. So whether we like it or not, this COVID-19 situation, put us into this awkward stage where, all of us have to leave all of our working gear and then start working from home. So this didn't give us any time at all. I mean, I truly don't know how many of us are really prepared for this and then enabled our, employees to work remotely or work, in a different or maybe from home to be 100% productive. I don't know. I mean, none of us can answer that question. But the good news here is that all of our companies and all of our organizations were able to be more productive than ever before. I mean, how is this possible? Like we never planned for this, but still we have been more productive. And if you look back into the business news that that are popping around, all the big tech giant companies have been posted more than $600 billion of a net revenues in the last 3-4 months. I mean, like, how is this all happening? In one side, we are facing the crisis. On the other side, some good things are happening. I mean, what is it all taking for all of these tech companies to post a huge revenues and then, helping these tech companies to the organizations like ourselves? So getting back into the definition of that. So in my lens, what I feel as a modern workplace is this modern workplace has to be a device independent, meaning you should be able to connect from any device. So whether it is an iPad, your Mac or your Windows PC, or even if I'm on the road, if I wanted to do some work, it should allow me to do and be productive even on my mobile phone. I'm doing that today, right? So I can take my Teams calls and I can open my email and I can go into my OneDrive, look up my entire work history and all the documents and everything. On the fly, I'm able to access all the documents, right? So, and I'm also collaborating with my team. So like, there is a project teams that have been created. So we work with multiple teams. So there is a collaboration team that is going on. There is an internal projects that we are doing. And then there is an external collaboration that is happening between the vendors and customers and things like that. There are, again, different teams and different goals that we have created. And again, all of that collaboration is happening to Microsoft Teams, through SharePoint, through email, and through Planner, and through OneNote and stuff like that. And these platforms are allowing us to be more productive, more collaborative. But two other important aspects have to be inserted into modern workplace, which is very, very important. And those two important things are this information that we were talking about got to be very, very intelligent. And I don't want to look into 10,000 different places to see, where my documents are. I don't want to shuffle between, hundreds of different collaboration sites to see where my project is. And at the same time, all of that data, if it is intelligent, if it is not secure, the whole purpose is defeated. So again, to summarize my definition of modern workplace, it gotta be device independent, it gotta be collaborative, and then it has to be intelligent, and it has to be more secure than ever before because you're accessing in many, many platforms on many, many devices. And all of this has to result into employee productivity. If all of these 5 pillars have been accomplished, and I would say you have a modern workplace.
Praveen, thank you so much. And that just gives that backdrop or the foundation to where the interaction with the panelists is going to go, where the questions from the panelists, I'm sure, are rooted in. And then as we open it up to those roundtable discussions, how we can use that to guide us through these next 45 minutes or so. So from the audience's perspective, what you can expect, as I said, for roughly the next 45 minutes is we're going to move into now the stage where the panelists are engaging with Praveen through a series of questions or talk tracks around the modern workplace. We'll also open it up to some roundtable discussions with Praveen and his counterparts that are on the panel. And then we'll move from the open-ended dialogue, we'll move that into a great demo that Praveen has put together specific to modern workplace and specific to some of that technology that can accelerate the modern workplace and make it a better reality for your companies. And then finally, as we move out of that demo, we'll be able to field some questions. We promise we've got time built in today. I will not let Praveen go on so long that we can't get to the audience questions. So Praveen, I'm going to hold you to that today. We're going to get to some of the questions from the audience. And then maybe most importantly to some of you that are out there, Praveen will share with you how you can do the spinning wheel for the raffle prizes and find out how you can get access to some of those great things that the YASH Technologies Microsoft team has put together for you as a result of joining today's webinar, episode number 3. With that being said, let's go into our first question from a panelist. And Alan had just sent me a message while you were giving your overview of modern workplace, your definition, Praveen, and he said he's got a question that he is dying to ask you. So I'm going to have Alan go first, please, and then I promise, Steve, I'll get to you next, but Alan just beat you to the punch, so Alan is number 1. Steve, you're on deck.
Sorry, Steve.
Right.
I'm going to take over here. No. So Praveen, I got a question for you. With the burgeoning business demand, new applications are constantly created. And today there are multiple applications and a lot of data spread across such, making access to that data complex and difficult. How does a modern workplace solution, how is that able to help here?
Yeah, so right. I think this is one of the common challenge that we face across many organizations, right? So as we grow, our employees grow and our applications grow and our demand for the applications would grow. And then this is working with many customers and many clients, many organizations. What I've realized is, let's say there is a new initiative or a new trend going on in the in the market. So that person has a vision to build certain technologies and certain vision. So with that, so they bring in SAP, or maybe somebody brings in some other technology, and then some other goes into a .NET platform, another goes into open source technologies. So over the period of time, what would really end up happening in a big organization is that so there will be multiple instances of same applications, one running in ERP, another running in a custom platform, or another running in a different platform. That's one scenario. Another scenario is you would end up creating many versions of the applications running, too many applications. And after 10 years or maybe 20 years, this is exactly what we have been hearing from many of our customers. I don't want to take those names here, but then they would end up creating 20,000 applications. This is the real number that we have been told by our customers. But I think the real approach to this problem is that, again, what we are going after, what's our organization goal, and what's our single, platform or a single unified technology that we wanted to leverage. So it's something that we, need to make a decision, number one. Number two, do we want to make a buy? And obviously, everybody would start with that. So do I want to buy an off-the-shelf product, or do I want to reinvent the wheel and then start building? And then once all of these applications have been put into one single platform, or to consolidate these applications into a lesser number of applications, right? So now you also need to think about how you are going to support these applications, right? So that is also very important. So considering all of these facts, and then, maybe there are choices that, do I want to build these applications as a SharePoint platform-based applications, or a .NET or a React-based applications, or maybe open source Java-based applications, or some of these could go into a mobile applications, and some of these could directly fit into, your CRMs of the world, or maybe ERP of the world. So those are the kind of decisions that needs to be made. But I think fundamentally, if you are talking about a workplace and a modern workplace environment, if I wanted to weave that together into Microsoft platform, I may probably say, maybe use a Power Platform, maybe use a Teams as a platform, or maybe use a SharePoint as a platform to build this business resulted or a business-oriented applications.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Does that answer your question, Alan?
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate you touching on some of the other areas, i.e. support, because it is part of the overall decision. So certainly thanks.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right. With that, Steve, you waited patiently to get your question in there. Please jump in with your question.
Hey, Praveen. I've been working through the Microsoft roadmap and trying to bring my organization to it. What would be the general high-level roadmap for migrating our entire organization content to Microsoft 365 Enterprise?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like this question, right? So this is very unique to the organization to organization. But I think what I would do is I would break it down into maybe 4 or 5 step approach. Let's say, first of all, I want to look at your IT landscape on IT infrastructure. What do I have? How old is my infrastructure? And what sort of an applications do I have today that are running in my data center? So that's where I would start. So, and then again, how old is this network here is in? How old is this data center that I have? Do I need to buy a new equipment or get a new equipment? That's one analysis that I would do. And then, do I want to basically make a decision between a capex and opex, and how much I'm spending in capex versus opex? That decisions I would also take into consideration. Once I have this determination, then I would actually go into Microsoft 365. So when I get into the Microsoft 365, to my mind, the first thing that comes into the head is that email. Everybody wants email and everybody loves email. Without email, no organization works, right? So that's the first starting point. But before the email, so we also need to look at how many users do we have? What sort of a security that is in place? What sort of a subscriptions do we want to get into with Microsoft 365? Again, there are many permutations and combinations that Microsoft offers your subscriptions and licenses, but we have to again look back and then see what works better for our organization. Like, let's say we have some field officers. Let's say we have some people those who doesn't even need a computer. So all they need is some email, some exchange data, or some of the applications they might need an access. In people like that, why do we need to spend the money on E3 or E5 licenses? It's not needed. And again, when you talk about an E5 license, right, only specific people or maybe C-level or a B-level people within the organization, they might need E5 level of licenses. So all of that, you need to figure it out. And then also, we need to also identify who's our stakeholders and who's the sponsors, and is the business aligned with us? Is the end users aligned with us? And once we have that together, then I would start first going with the email, and then I would look at my network gear, I would look at my bandwidth and everything, and then I'll start first migrating the email to the cloud. And once this email has been migrated, and again, I don't want to go into a full bang approach, right? A big bang approach. So first, I would want to set up maybe 50 users or 100 users first, and then once that is done, test it out, and then take a feedback, and then fully implement the email. And then as part of this email implementation, you may also want to talk about SSO, single sign-on, and MFA. And then once these things have figured it out, then you can start building the other apps. Maybe you want to bring in SharePoint, maybe you want to bring in OneDrive, maybe you want to bring in Yammer, maybe you want to bring in some business applications like Power BI, Power Apps, and Microsoft Flow and Forms and things like that. Again, not every organization needs all of this, but we need to understand what our organization goals are. Based on that, I would create a roadmap and a rollout plan for the organization.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's kind of exactly down the road of what we're doing. And what are your thoughts around the hybrid configuration within 365? Because I've kind of taken the steps, just like you said. I went from implemented mail, went into that hybrid kind of AD relationship, did a little things with SharePoint. So I'm kind of on that border, looking at SSO and those types of things. Is that a typical type of plan?
It is a typical type of a plan, but I think, depending upon what my organizational goal, and I would again look at, do I really want to have this hybrid environment? I mean, at what cost am I actually maintaining? So think of one scenario here. Let's say there is an email patch that is coming in. There is some security update that you need to do. So you need to do it in two places now, okay? So you need to go back into your server infrastructure, and then you need to figure it out and then update that on the local infrastructure. Plus, you also need to know, what are the things that are affecting the users that are on the cloud. So probably, some of your E1 or E3 users, you need to have a different, target plan for them to, take certain things. So those are the things that you would want to do. But I think, in my opinion, especially working within US geography, right? Majority of them, I have not seen a hybrid environment. Very few people are using the hybrid environment. But especially when you talk about a Europe region where they have a GDPR and things like that, and certain user information and certain files and certain data cannot go over to the cloud, that is where they are actually using the hybrid environment. But I think in our case, I think it is pretty safe to say we can pretty much offload everything from our data center and push it over to the cloud as we are feeling comfortable with the outcomes that we are receiving from the migration and modernization.
No, understood. That's good to know.
Praveen, while you and Steve have been engaged there, Rachel was sending me a message that she had a unique perspective from her organization standpoint on this exact same topic that she valued sharing with the audience today. So before we go to the next question, I'd just like to let Rachel jump in here and interact.
Burning question, yeah. So yeah, like Steve and both Praveen and both mentioned, it was really looking at moving email to the cloud and also making OneDrive and SharePoint accessible from all devices other than just having it on-prem. So we went through Office 365 first, and then the OneDrive SharePoint migration to cloud from on-prem, and then Teams after that. And now we're working through those other apps like Planner and Project Online. So I think for this year and next, we really want to focus on honing in on the governance and Power BI. So, but I hear similar trends in the approaches. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing those details with us, Rachel.
And Alan, when we were prepping for this call, you had said if this topic came up, you wanted to jump in on it as well if time permitted. What perspective did you have since we've landed on it? What perspective do you have to share as well?
Yeah, it's just it's been kind of talked about, I think, under the covers a little bit here. One thing I think that's very important that we got to remember too, through a rollout, any type of, if you will, rollout plan or roadmap, is the type of business. You can do the whole big bang concept and just go right at it and throw it out to everybody. But a company like Kent Corp, we've got Kent's an umbrella type of corporation. We have multiple operating companies underneath the headquarters. So we did kind of I'm going to say a hybrid of an explosion or a big bang vice, also rolling out to certain opcos or certain groups at certain times. So I think that's part of the strategy of the roadmap as well. It's certainly business directed in some fashion. So it's just consideration.
Great. And again, the value of the webinar series is to get all of these perspectives from all of you thought leaders and share that with our audience that's listening out there. Like I said, they can think of it as an incubator. They can take your perspectives that you shared, take them back to their organizations, plant the seeds and see how they grow. So everybody, thank you for sharing around that topic. Praveen, you obviously hit on something there because it was sparking dialogue from everybody, but I've got to put a timeout on that topic and move on because Doug has also sent me a notice that he has a question that he wants to make sure we get covered off on. So Doug, can you go ahead and ask away to Praveen?
Sure thing. So when we think about the modern digital workplace, and as you know, we already heard earlier on this panel that there can be hundreds, maybe even thousands of applications that people are using or interacting with, and all of that switching between all of those applications, ultimately can become a multitasking kind of environment that affects people's efficiency. And I'd say even if you had a more limited number of applications, sometimes even within the Microsoft Office suite, sometimes there's context switching that's happening there. Like, did that come through chat or did that come through Outlook, or I can't find that now? And so I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on what are some of the things that could be helpful in helping people manage in that environment.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. I think this is also one of the constant problem that I've been hearing from many thought leaders like you. So over the period of time, like I said, right? So over the period of time, we have built so many applications. Now, millions of dollars have been spent in building those applications. We cannot get rid of those applications, in one fine day, right? So we got to use those applications. But again, think about this modern workplace definition itself. One of the fundamental principles that is telling us is about the user experience. So if the user experience is not that bright and if that's not useful, so not a lot of people are going to log. So this is one of the topics that one of the things that came into my mind when I was talking to one of my customer is that I spend $8 a month. I get an ultimate service in Netflix. The UI is pretty sleek and it gives me all the recommendation. It tells me what I've been watching. It gives me a fantastic UI. When I come at my workplace, why don't I have such type of an experience when I'm working in my collaborative platform? That really stuck to my head. And like, yeah, it made me think. Yeah. So to answer to that question, right? So all of these applications, when you are switching between one window to another window, or you have to go to one platform to another platform. So I'll take a scenario, right? So maybe you are in the process of approving a lot of the invoices that have come from the customers. So the invoice is coming from an email, and then somebody need to look at that email and then look at it, review it, and then make some determinations, or maybe upload this data back into SAP. There are so many functionalities that are involved. But I think the simple answer here is that whatever the platform that we are going after, okay, so that platform should be consolidated with a lot of your applications. So for example, in this our case, so we have a Microsoft Teams. Within Microsoft Teams, so we know that we not only can do a chat, we can have our Teams productivity, we can also have our document sharing. On top of it, we can have your OneNote running. You also have your planner running. So with the new capabilities, what we can also do is we can add additional tabs, and those additional tabs would be driving your business application. Let's say there is an invoice processing application that is there. Instead of me going into our different web browser and then start doing it, so I bring that browser inside my Teams so that I don't have to switch between multiple applications or multiple browsers and things like that. All of that data is condensed into one single platform. That way, you don't have to leave your platform, look for another things. Everything that you are collaborating is in one place, which is in Teams. So does that resonate?
It does, and certainly I, have seen just in the last few months as we've all been working from home that people have migrated to Teams and started to leverage that platform and the integration, if you will, around all of these various tools. I still even find for myself sometimes though that I start something in chat and then I, have had some other conversation going on in Outlook, and I'm trying to figure out, which space I should be in. And so part of it is this. We spoke about this last week as well a bit. Is there's a user adoption component, I would say, to this context switching of how do you get people to recognize that they have this behavior, and with the recognition that they have this behavior, maybe they need a different approach to how they're interacting with the tools.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Perfect. Doug, Praveen, thank you for that topic. Chris, you're one of our new panelists. I apologize. We're just now getting over to you for your question, but you've waited patiently. The floor is yours.
So you talked earlier about leveraging the tool set and the platform. Can you expand a little bit on how we collaborate, share, and communicate all in one place using Teams?
Yeah, absolutely. So, within Microsoft Teams, right? So, not Microsoft Teams, within Office 365, depending upon your subscription level, whether you go with E1 or E3 or E5, so you get ton of workloads, right? So traditionally, majority of the organizations would go with E5, and with E5, you get email as one of the channel and one of the window, and then you get business applications is another window. Then you also get a communications and collaboration. So that will consist of your Yammer, your SharePoint, and your Skype for Business, and your Teams. So again, fundamentally, there is a challenge, or there is a kind of a confusion around the users that, hey, I am managing a project, okay? So now, do I need to use a planner, or do I need to use a Microsoft project online? Or do I need to use a SharePoint? Because SharePoint also allows you to track projects, right? So there is a fundamental challenge that hits across everybody. And the same question with you that you are asking earlier, right? So if I'm doing chatting, right? If I'm doing instant messaging, and if I'm collaborating, and there are some Teams data that is there. So this is again related to our user adoption and user training. So when we are rolling these things into an organization, we also need to clearly define a path and define a definition of which component or which workload that you are going to use on what criteria. So, when would you use email? We all know when we would use email, but then we start sending some mass communication, hundreds of people's, doing an email communication. Probably there's a better way to do that, and that better way is to create a Teams channel, and within the Teams channel you have your team that is there, and then you can add all of them, and whatever the communication that you want to do, can we do that through the instant messaging that is there as part of our Teams channel? That way we get an instant communication and collaboration going on, instead of using the email and bombarding email everywhere all over. So that's one of the consideration. And secondly, there is a team collaborated documents that are there. So should I attach them and then send it in an email, or should I attach them from my OneDrive, or should I keep all of those documents within Teams? So those are the decisions that we need to make on how we are actually evolving and how we are getting better at. But again, the fundamental goal here is to make the experience better and make this information intelligent, and at the same time, this information gotta be accessible when I want, and I need to be able to retrieve. And again, there is some confusions and clarifications that are required throughout the process of rolling out this. And when we get into a demo stage, what I'm going to do is that I'm exactly going to be showing this particular problem that I'm highlighting, right? So we have been talking with so many project teams. We have been collaborating with so many project teams, or maybe customers or vendors and things like that. There is so much of data. When I need the data, I needed the data right at my eyes. But today, with this modern workplace, with this so many components that are there, I cannot get the data that I am looking for. So the demo, when I show that, so I will touch upon that, and I will show you, how we can extract that data.
Praveen, Chris, I know you had a second question. Before we get to your second question, I'm going to move just quickly over to Rachel. She hasn't had the opportunity to ask her burning question that she has. So Rachel, I'll queue it up with you, and then Chris, we're going to come right back to you after Rachel.
Yeah, thanks. So Praveen, you touched on it a bit. So presently, we're spending a lot of time and energy trying to get information across silos rather than just working on actual business problems and projects. So how can a modern digital workplace solution help us solve the problem?
Yeah, so this is again one unique situation, right? So as I was saying earlier too, so we never saw that this Office 365 or M365 is going to come around, and then it is going to pack with so many other features within it, right? So we all had some business needs, and we all wanted to solve some specific problem, and then whether it is a project management, collaboration, or whether it is related to a vendors or a customers collaboration, or whether it is internal collaboration, or we wanted to meet certain compliance for the government bodies, we need to have some applications. So over the period of time, we spend millions of dollars to create those applications. Now those applications are running as a standalone application. The data is sitting there and the information is sitting there. These are all running in silos, right? So there is no AI that is sitting on it. There is no predictive and the predictive maintenance that it is telling. There is no way for you to know how much of these invoices are about to come in this month, and how much of these invoices need to go into hit your financial system by this month. You don't have that data, or you don't have that intelligence, you don't have that information. That is because these are all sitting in silos. So what we could do is like, again, this, I'm not painting a picture that, yeah, you should stop using all of your applications and then get onto a bandwagon of Microsoft and then start building all of your applications into Microsoft platform. That's not the message I'm trying to give. But what I'm trying to say is there are better platforms and better tools that Microsoft is giving you, and then with that tools, we can not only have this intelligent information sitting over here, and then kind of have that intelligence coming into our order. So speaking of this intelligence, right? So I know we are short on time, but John, can I get like 2 minutes to show how AI analytics works in the Office 365?
Sure, you're the boss, sir.
Okay, cool. So can you, Rahul, can you allow me to share my screen?
You are already a presenter.
Okay. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Do you see this black window?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there is one important thing that I wanted to show you guys. I don't know how many of you have paid attention to this, but I still wanted to highlight it. There is one specific thing that is called My Analytics. So when I click on this My Analytics, what it is doing is it is bringing me these 4 or 5 things. It is telling me like, what my focus areas are, what my well-being, and what my network and collaboration. These are all AI-driven process that is coming into your Office 365. So let's say if I look at my focus, so it is saying that so there are like 7 or 10 days the focus time has been booked, and then there are like weekly, how am I trending, where am I focusing, and how much time am I spending on collaboration. So it is giving me a neat report that is telling me how my week is going on. And then if I go into my well-being, so it is telling me like, how many hours I was quiet and how many days I was busy working in. And then if I look into my networking, so it is giving me a 3-layer network that is telling me like, who am I collaborating most? So what's my internal team? And then what's my second layer of team? So it is giving me all of that detail without me doing anything. Automatically all of the data that is available for me. And then it also tells me like, how many times did I collaborate, how many people I've been active with. And then also it tells me that, who are my internal collaborations and who is my external collaborations. All of the details have been shown here. And then I can make, my team highlighted here and things like that. And then in the collaboration too, so it is giving me some habits, how I'm using my email, when I'm doing some meetings. So, what is the high attendance? How many hours am I spending on the meetings? When there is no emails or no chatting during the meeting. So things like that, it's predefined and it's already there, and it's all through Microsoft Graph and through AI that is built in. It is bringing all of this. So imagine if we can bring this type of AI into your workplace, you would have a lot of these things go away, like the fundamental challenges that are there, whether my invoice is coming in, whether my bills are due, or whether my processing is due. So things like that, we can automatically process this and then kind of automatically predict and then kind of show these recommendations to you. So these are the type of things that we could do using the power of Office 365 AI and the graph, the Microsoft Graph.
Praveen, thanks for walking everybody through that. That was really beneficial. Chris, I know I promised we were going to come right back to you, but unfortunately I have to go back on that because I've got to give Praveen time to jump into his demo that he promised to show everybody. Chris, we will get to your question in a follow-up episode. You have my word on it. But Praveen, I know you want to show that demo because it is super impactful and relevant to today's topic. So if you could take about the next 5 to 8 minutes and show the audience that demo. And then immediately after that, those of you in the audience that have submitted questions, they're starting to come in on my desktop. I will get those in front of Praveen and the panel, and we'll answer as many of those as time allows today. Praveen, please go into your demo, sir.
Absolutely. So I need to switch into a different system now, different tenant now. So just give me a minute here, please. Okay. Again, are you seeing my screen?
Yep, it's there, Praveen.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just explain what demo are we trying to give it to you. I think many of the leaders, I heard them saying that we have built so many applications and the data is sitting in so many places, and we don't know how to extract the data, or not exactly we don't know. I mean, the data is sitting in many places, so at times when we need it, we are not able to figure out where that data is sitting. That problem again even happens to me today. So my unique perspective on this demo that I'm about to give you is, think of a situation, right? So in a day in, day out, we send multiple emails to many customers and many vendors and many suppliers. That's one of the things that we do, right? We love to do that. The second thing is, when the meetings are going on with our customers or suppliers, so we open a OneNote, we start taking some meetings, and then we start taking some actionable items and follow-up items and things like that. And then we put, if there are some actionable items for me, I'll put them into Microsoft To Do and then track all of those things, my actionable items. And if there is an internal collaboration that is going on, I will put all of those things in a planner, and then I'll track all of those things in a planner. So likewise, so there will be at least some 15 to 20 workloads that are there in the Microsoft ecosystem. And at a time when I am looking for one specific meeting invite or actionable items or OneNote or maybe a document, I don't know where to look for. Do I need to go into Microsoft Teams, or do I need to go to OneDrive, or do I need to go into email? So I'm confused. So this tool that we have built is going to solve all of that problem. So how is it going to solve all of those problems? So let's say this tool name that we have built, or accelerator that we have built, is we are calling it as a unified digital platform. This tool works like a Google for your environment, okay, for your Office 365 environment. So let's say I am putting some simple criteria here, which is a sales agreement, right? So when I click on search, what it is, observe very carefully here. So it is going into entire Office 365 ecosystem, and then it is looking for the references for that word, and it is bringing in from all the places. It is going into email, it is going into SharePoint, it is going into OneDrive and To Do, and OneDrive, Yammer, Teams, and Planner. So the beautiful thing about this tool is that it is not only giving this information, but also it is telling me that how many emails does it have attachments, okay, and how many of these attachments fall under docx or PDF or Excel, and then if there are any notes, so how many of those notes are in OneNote, or if those files are falling under any Teams, so how is that structure that is going to show? So all of the details have been extracted and then put them into one single place. So I think the search is still going on here because it has to look into multiple instances and get the data. So once I have the data, so I should be able to kind of show you a bunch of things here. So now that this is done, so now again, we want to give the very cool UI and a very good user experience. So now there are 23 emails. I don't want to go through those 23 emails. What I want to do is that I simply want to, so I just want to hover over on this and then see how many of these documents are actually related to me. So am I looking for a PDF document? Am I looking for a Word document? So this is a sales agreement communication. There is a sales agreement team communication. I know exactly what document am I looking, and I really don't care where this document is resided, whether it is in email, whether it is in OneDrive, whether it is in Planner. So I really don't care. So all I need is whether this information that I'm looking for is given to me or not. Now imagine a situation, now I wanted to drill down further. I want to go within Teams. So I click on Teams. So now after I go into the Teams, so it should take me to a page where it should give me the data by the classification of number of teams, number of channels, and number of files that the data has been associated. As you can clearly see, there are total number of teams, there is 1, and the total channels is 2, and the total files that this word is looking for is in the sales agreement is existing in 4 files. So I can again go back into my team's results, my channel results, and I can see where exactly this data is sitting in. If I want, I can even go into that channel, or if I want just this document, I can pull this document back in again. So this is one of the topic. I think it's very important to all of the audience. That's number one. And then this is just a simple search criteria that I put in. What if I have some complex search criteria, which is like human-like interaction type of a search criteria? So let's look at something like sales forecast for 2021 and 2022. These are all like human-like asked questions, right? So let's search and then see how many instances it is finding in. And again, if it is going into all these workloads and then finding this search criteria, and then wherever the search criteria is matched in, whether in SharePoint or OneDrive or whatever these places, it is pulling all of that references to me, and then from there I can easily look at where this is, and then I can download it, or I can look at it, or I can even email right from here. So that's the kind of a power that we are bringing into this one single tool. So John, so at this point in time, we would like to take questions from audience, if that is okay.
Sure, absolutely. You need to take a breath after that demo, Praveen. That was fantastic. Appreciate it. We do. We have some great questions from the audience. And to you, Praveen, and obviously any of our panelists as well that would like to chime in, we have about 5 minutes for audience questions. And the first one is in 2 parts. And it goes with teams and this quote unquote new work environment. How do we prevent creating yet another silo of information? That's part 1. Part 2 is, and how do we bring the ocean of data into this new silo? So if you could break it down, Praveen, and anybody on the panel that has experience with this, and make sure we address both parts of that, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'll go first, right? So if I get that question correctly, so how do we break this silo into the new environment with this new modern workplace, right? So yeah, so obviously we have faced these challenges in many times and in many applications. We have been talked all along that we don't want to have these silos, we don't want to have this miscommunication or poor communication between the applications or between the users, right? So how do we break this silo? So number one, again, looking at your organizational goals, which platform or which technology that we wanted to use. So once you figure that out, so start building all of those applications into that platform. So once you have that data and the applications into that platform, these applications will start producing some data. So with that data, start making some meaningful predictions and meaningful insights of those applications, and then these applications will start giving you some insights, and based on that insight, start building certain predictions or certain AI recommendations to you, so that you don't have to work in a silos.
Great, Praveen, I appreciate that. From the aspect then of another question that we have here, it goes to the heart of Microsoft 365 EA versus a CSP model. What are the pros and cons of those models, and what company can benefit from either?
Yeah, so again, it truly depends on your organization level number of licenses that you wanted to buy. So obviously with the enterprise agreement, you would get certain benefits and certain things from whoever your distributor is. So especially when you talk about a CSP program, the cloud solution program, so within that cloud solution program, you get certain benefits and certain perks. So but fundamentally the licenses and the benefits that you are going to be getting is going to be changing on how you are going to be getting these licenses through EA model or through a CSP model. So I hope whoever is asking that question is able to I was able to provide the response. But if you need additional details on it, like we are also a CSP provider, but if you do need additional details on this topic, so please shoot out an email to us, trailblazer@yash.com. So we should be able to provide more details on this. And also there are lots of benefits that you are going to be getting from CSP model, and we should be able to provide more details on that particular topic.
Fantastic, Praveen. And what I took away from that is some of these questions are going to require that additional context and the one-on-one narrative, so we can really learn more about what's going on within that organization and tailor our message or tailor our answers specifically to what's going on within that organization. But that gave a nice high level for people to understand where you were going with that. We've got time for one more, and Praveen, I need you to be really quick with your answer on this one. But while it's great standardizing on one platform, any organization that deals with partners, and again, parentheses, who doesn't, obviously everybody does anymore, there's a high likelihood that they have a different standard and it's not interoperable and things quickly go back to the old ways. What recommendations do you have, Praveen, to bridge that divide when one partner has a different system than perhaps what we're operating on?
Right, right. I think this is also a challenge that I face with almost all customers that I'm working, right? So I'm not just one partner that I'm working with my customers. So they have many customers, and then obviously this is one of the challenges that we face. So not everybody is using the same framework, not everybody is using the same guidelines and technology and methodology, even though it is Office 365 or a M365 based solution. But each one of them have a different way of implementing. But as an organization, so maybe you may have some enterprise architectural decisions that you need to take and that you need to consider, that hey, if I wanted to go start using the SharePoint, or if I wanted to start using the Power Apps, or if I wanted to start using any other technology within that platform, so what compliance and what governances and what best practices do I want to put in? That is a governing body, and that is defined by you or in collaborations of multiple partners. So they need to agree on these things, and without the agreement of this, so one wants to go south, another wants to go north, and then we end up creating another mess. We don't want to do that.
Sure, and that's the heart of where the question was coming from. Obviously, we don't want to implement something, obviously, just to make life more difficult. So again, great opportunity for some further deep dive discussion. Praveen, throw out that email address that everybody can find you at again for questions.
Yeah, TrailBlazer@yash.com.
Okay, TrailBlazer@yash.com. That will put you in direct contact with Praveen and his team. And I have Praveen's word that he will get questions answered within 24 hours. So if you have a question or want further conversation, Praveen and his team will get back to you within 24 hours. So with that, Praveen, we've come right up to the end of the time that we have. I know you have a couple of quick announcements you need to make to all of our participants.
Absolutely. So can everybody see my screen? Okay, yep. John, you see Q&A screen? Okay, absolutely. Okay, thanks. So, if you have any follow-up questions from this session, so, please feel free to send your questions to this email ID, trailblazer@yash.com. Very quickly, moving into the next one. So all of you, those who are here, get an opportunity to spin the wheel and then get some awesome gift cards. It's all waiting for you. Please don't miss that opportunity. The URL for that is yash.com/spinwheel. It's one single word, spinwheel. So go to this URL, put your details, and then please take this advantage. You might get a gift card up to $100. We don't know. Okay.
And Praveen, the URL is in the chat feature on the webinar. So if they want to copy and paste it, they can go directly to the chat feature on the webinar.
Oh, great. Thank you. Great.
Yep.
One other thing that I also want to announce is there is a mega raffle. So you can get this gifts also, this prizes also. This we are going to be doing at the end of 5th webinar. And if any one of you are attending all this webinar so far, so you will be qualified to run this mega raffle. And there will be multiple gifts that we will be giving. Whether it is a Logitech 4K Brewer or a 34-inch monitor or a Bose speakers or a headphone. So this could be yours. So please, stick on to all the webinars and you will be qualified to win this. And then lastly, there is a next webinar that is coming on next Tuesday, which is why is Azure Cloud Landing Zone is important, which is again at the same time. If you have additional colleagues from your organization willing to participate in that, So this is the URL, you know it already. So yash.com/trailblazer. So you can register from here. And also sorry, I already said last thing, but this is the last thing. When we close this webinar, so directly it'll take you to give you a feedback. So if you felt that this webinar is useful, or if you wanted to give any additional feedback, please feel free to give your feedback on this GoToWebinar link. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.